Troublesome Battlegrounds 2 is one of the best anime arena fighters on Roblox. On release and the following months, it had a large, dedicated player base, which enjoyed the game for hours on end and continually played each and every update released. However, about 6 months after its release, it started to have a substantial decline in players and fell off the radar for many people. It was not because the game was bad by any means, it was extremely fun to play then, and it still is now. It's just that the devs had other focuses and issues and did not update the game often leading into the middle of 2021, and this problem was what eventually led to its decline in the coming months. However, despite now being a dead game, TB2 continues to prove its worth as one of the best games on Roblox and is definitely a hidden gem at this point in time. TB2 released on January 8th, 2021, and it instantly garnered over 10,000 players. At that time, only 10 characters were playable, with 2 being DLC for the Golden Wind roster. Jonathan, Young Joseph, Jotaro, Avdol, Josuke, Koichi, Giorno, Bruno, Fugo, and Ghiaccio were the initial characters at the time of release. Koichi had only 2 moves that relied on his stand while using the other Part 4 characters to fight. Giorno was the only character with an awakening. Young Joseph had the fastest run speed in the game, and the DLC characters were sparsely seen. Even though there were only a handful of playable characters and limited content with free-for-alls, team battles, and ranked 1s and 2s, people were able to do so much with the game. The best players at the time were instantly noticeable on the leaderboards. Grievous, Arnox, BRLC, Salvatore, and Sadly Pre were all people who made their names in the beginning periods of the game, all becoming high-ranked people and most even champions at some point. Issues that quickly arose with the game were in ranked map pools with a lot of running and map abusing, Joseph being able to outrun everyone to be the perfect stall character, and Giorno outclassing everyone with his 100-0 combos. The problem of Joseph's run speed was addressed quickly by making his run speed equal to everyone else, but the ranked map pool and other character balance issues still remained. TB2's first character update came 2 weeks after its launch, introducing Dio and Diavolo Doppio as playable characters. However, when the update dropped, it had to be shut down in order to fix data loss issues and to patch many exploits that were arising. When the game was fixed and reopened a week later, Polnareff was also released as a way to say thank you for the people who sticked around for the update to come back. All of these characters superseded most of the original roster, all coming with awakening modes and amazing movesets. All of the characters could easily pull off high damage combos and even one-shot combos in some circumstances, which made them extremely good. Doppio was easily the most hated in this update because he introduced a new level of running that was not seen with other characters. Dio was annoying because his time stop abilities allowed for free high damage combos, and Polnareff was one of the best characters in all game modes because his M1 range was the biggest and his damage output and kit was just simply better than many other characters at the time. This update also brought about the end of the first ranked season, which at the time meant that the stakes were higher going into February as most people were now beginning to be comfortable with the game. TB2's second update set a new precedent for balance and meta in the game. William A. Zeppeli, Dio Brando, and DLC 2 with Part 4 Jotaro and Akira Otoishi released, as well as Josuke, who received a kit rework and an awakening. These characters were all amazing. Zeppeli and Dio had 100-0 combos that were easy to pull off. Josuke was able to have a lot of poke damage options and his mode gave him no stun moves and unpunishable attacks. Jotaro Part 4 became one of the definitive 1 characters, with a counter, a quick range attack, and a time stop that allowed him to catch people off guard and set up combos. And Akira was a great 2s character because of his AoE moves and good mix-ups, as well as a unique charge mechanic to gain more damage each life. It was also around this time that sneaks for Part 7 characters like Johnny and Scary Monsters Diego were shown and worked on, as well as a promise for an SBR mode, all of which never came into fruition, sadly. However, this update was great for the amount of content it brought, as well as the characters that completely broke the meta. Update 3 and the end of the first ranked season came out around the same time at the end of February. Update 3 brought 3 new characters in Caesar, Okuyasu, and Wamu, as well as some needed nerfs to Dio Brando and Giorno. Caesar was annoying on launch. He could stack his bubble winds moves with all of his attacks and as well as play range, which was annoying as we've seen from Doppio before. Okuyasu was alright with quick moves, but he lacked good pressure options against blocks and had no awakening. And Wamu was great because of his wind mode for extra damage and other tactical usage. Dio Brando and Giorno received lots of end lag on many other moves as some changes with longer cooldowns. Other than the update, the first real ranked season ended, with Salvatore 33 and Deadku 14 becoming champions in 1s and 2s respectively. Each person gained lots of recognition in the community and were even granted their own champion skins to commemorate their spots. This alone, the promise of a champion skin, was a strong reason why many people decided to grind ranked and make the game extremely competitive overall in the coming months. However, this was a high point for TB2, as it was steadily maintaining a high player count and both interest and involvement from the community. Update 4 was a very high point for TB2, as it brought 5 characters in Stroheim and Cars finishing at the Battle Tendency roster, Kira, and the last DLC Pack 3 of Vanilla Ice and Old Joseph. Stroheim was decent with many ranged options and counter potential, Cars was pretty good with a counter move and base and a versatile awakening, Kira's base and mode were extremely powerful, with lots of annoying ways for him to get damage and combos, Vanilla Ice was essentially unbeatable in every game mode because all his moves all dealt high damage and were hard to counter, and Old Joseph was able to stun, which made him really shine in 2s. Nothing else really came after a while except the end of Ranked Season 2, which had It's All Satire Bro and Sadly Pri as champions in 1s and 2s respectively. It's All Satire Bro was a controversial figure because he was accused of alt farming in order to reach a spot, and was banned many times for doing so. But Sadly Pri wasn't unprecedented because he hit champion on iPad and was the last champion skin to be given out, that was known at least. At this point, ranked rewards were silently discontinued, but many people still continued to grind the game and play because it was extremely fun with a diverse roster and lots of popularity at this point. April was a quiet month for the game, as the update to come was continually delayed. Both of the developers, yes, the game only had a 2-person dev team, were out of commission for different real-life related reasons. The lack of an update in this month caused unrest amongst the community, and many began to speak negatively of the game because of it. This made the developers obviously angry, as it was essentially out of their control as to being able to finish the update on time. Other than that, one of the developers stated that a Stone Ocean roster was their priority, and that SBR was delayed for the unforeseen future. I believe that the ranked champions from this month were Salvatore 33 or Satire in 1s, and either me or BRLC in 2s, but I have no definitive proof for either because the Discord was hacked and many of the channels were deleted. However, the arguably greatest update in TB2 came out on the 1st of May with the Awakenings update. While there were no new characters added to the game, each character received an awakening which completely broke the meta, and rank stocks were changed to 4 instead of 5 to make it more like ABA. Characters like Fugo, Avdol, and Diobrando received busted awakenings that completely destroyed others in terms of power, and Koichi received an entire kit change in both base and got an awakening, which for a while made him not as good as the rest of the characters because, well, the hitboxes were bugged. While there was a lot of hype and interest back in the game after a content drought, this update began what is one of the worst issues that plagued TB2 ranked for the longest time. Because character heights were adjusted with the update, there was a glitch that randomly killed players upon loading into their character models. This meant that, before and during ranked matches, people could spawn in and lose multiple stocks per game without having anything to prevent it. This issue is one that was never fixed and still exists in TB2 to this day. Still, despite that major issue, TB2 reached a peak of over 13,000 players and continued to thrive throughout May. During this time, I believe that Satire was a ranked 1 champion, and either me or BRLC, again, were the 2's ranked champions. June was another time where the game did not receive an update, this time also due to the devs having to deal with real-life issues and not being able to work on the game. However, in the latter half of the month, the devs were able to work on the game and procure some characters for the next month. In terms of ranked, the stock counter was set back to 5 instead of 4, and I believe Cinda was the ranked 1 champion and I was the ranked 2 champion at this time. Other than that, the game during this month began to lose a lot of players because there were issues in ranked and publics with the game being substantially buggier than in other months, and, obviously, the reset glitch ruining many people's experiences with the game. The next update finally launched on the 3rd of July with Kakyoin, Narancia, and Mista finishing off both the Stardust Crusaders and Golden Wind rosters. Kakyoin and Narancia were both extremely annoying and strong characters because of their barrages lasting the longest in the game and therefore being great in 1s and 2s, and Mista was a good ranged character with an extremely strong mode. These characters, for a while, completely outclassed the other characters, and were the most picked characters in ranked and public matches for that reason. Despite the new characters, the game did not garner many players when it updated, maxing out at around 6,000 players upon the update. I do not believe ranked was reset at the end of this month, so no new champions were decided at the time. The next update for the game was released in late August, with the long-awaited character Rohan being added to finally finish the Diamond is Unbreakable roster. Lots of skin changes and UI overhauls that were amazing, some new maps and Cairo rooftops in the ruins, and a good amount of bug fixes also came with this update, due to there only being 1 character. This update did not bring nearly as much interest back in the game, and came after a dry period for many people, only bringing in about 4K players at its peak. The game was not bad by any means, but it was just the issue of a lack of updates surrounding this time. One reason for this was that the devs started to work on a new project that they have not announced to the public yet, but are planning to announce hopefully sometime soon. But it was also because the player count was starting to get very low at this time that they didn't update. Around this time, the ranked champions were random opus and 1s, and at this point I have no idea who for 2s. But ranked points in top 3 spots were becoming lower on average due to the dropping player counts, and not as much incentive to become a champion whenever the champion skins were discontinued. The 10th update for TB2 arrived on the 19th of November, with 3 new modes for public players, Speedwagon releasing to finish the final anime roster in Phantom Blood, and new animations and damage indicators that looked good and fresh for the game. Joiner received a kit change in order to make him a little more viable, and Vanilla Ice had his multi-hit potential reduced, which was one change that nerfed him pretty hard. At this point, Ranked was mostly dead, as the player count peaked at around maybe 1,500 players, and publics were the only thriving part of the game. The state of TB2 at the time was sad, because there was a lot coming for the game. The Stone Ocean roster was on its way, SBR in Part 7 was still in wait, and a little developed at the time, but not a lot of people were continually coming back and playing the game. The next and final update for the game came on one day after Christmas, with the official release of the Stone Ocean roster beginning with Jolene and Hermes, and a Christmas update with many new skins and bug fixes. It also brought a new lobby, music, and sound effects, as well as a gyro NPC for SBR, which confirmed that SBR was at least planned for the game at that point. While the characters and content were good at the time, not many people really came back to the game in order to play the update. Ranked at this point was dead, and the only real champion that came after this point was Furnu in 1s, and 2s basically just died out at some point. And many of the people had moved on to other anime arena fighters and games on Roblox. Sadly, despite the hype surrounding the update, only core fans of the game really came back to play it. This was the end of TB2 as we know it, really, in terms of content, updates, and activity. The 1-year anniversary of TB2 came and went, with no new content in TB2, and only a message from the developers that updates were on a hiatus in order to work on a better game. The game was essentially not touched for a long time. Awakenings became bugged due to a Roblox update and basically killed most of the remaining player base, and the Christmas lobby stayed and much of the music was also removed to Roblox updates. While the Awakenings were eventually fixed naturally by Roblox also updating itself, there still remained some bugs with the characters' moves completely breaking. Ren, someone with a lot of power in the Discord server, also had his account hacked, and much of the server was deleted, including the update log channel, which meant that much of the information here was gleaned purely from the YouTube footage of people like Deadku and Salvatore. So, even though it is technically still on hiatus, TB2 is essentially in its final state, untouched and forgotten. However, there is a lot of hope for the future games made by D and Goat. They're currently working on a project that, if you remotely enjoyed TB2, you would enjoy the new one way more. This promises what keeps the core community alive in the Discord, waiting for new information on the game, and sometimes even revisiting TB2 for tournaments and just fun times. They continue to keep everyone in anticipation of the new server and a new game, because it is guaranteed the same quality that TB2 brought to Roblox. If you've gotten to this point in the video, I want to thank you for watching. It took a while to actually make this video because I'm not always on top of what I want to do, but I'm glad that I finally made it. I'll use this end portion of the video to detail my experience with TB2, and then I will interview both the person who introduced me to the game and another 2's ranked champion who's now a YouTuber. I started playing the day the game came out. A friend had seen the game on Roblox's experiences page, and having played the original, invited me and some other friends to hop on and try it. I was instantly hooked on the game, and I picked Koichi as my first main because he had some really good combos and support moves. I initially got hooked on Ranked, and even got to play a ton with Sadly Pre, the only iPad champion in the game, which was pretty cool. He got champion once and I got champion twice because we just played a lot and won a lot, and as we played more we got better. My personal favorite time in the game was the update before the Awakenings update, because most of the characters that I'd really been interested in the game had already been out by then, that being Old Joseph, Vanilla Ice, Akira, Wamu, Abdal, and those are like, I guess, the main characters I really liked out of the roster, and seeing them all like completed and playable at that time was one of the highlights, I guess, of the game. And then Awakenings update, they all got better, and that was really cool. Of course, looking at the game now, I realize that there is a new and better game coming out, but I still wish that maybe the devs would come back at some point, either finish the Part 2 DLC, add some more Stone Ocean characters, or even release some of the Part 7 content, that being like the Johnny Scary Monsters Diego sneaks, or SBR being completed in some capacity. But now that I've detailed my experiences, I will now ask two others what connections they had with the game. Please introduce yourself.
So my friends call me lazy. I am an avid Roblox player. This is not. It's all I do. So you can tell I don't go outside a lot.
How
Yeah.
did you originally get into TB2?
Well, played the first TB, which was just a endless killing simulator. He just spawned in with a random sand, and you get more sands by getting more kills. And I checked their group to see what happened to the game because it died out and it had no more players. And I saw that they were making a second game. So I invited some of my friends into it, and we had a lot of fun, and that's how I got into TB2.
What was your favorite TB2 update, like in terms of content update for like when a character dropped or something?
I think the Dio update was my favorite. Dio as a playable character was really nice. Polnareff was also a good addition to the game. Ooh, and also Caesar. Caesar, Polnareff, and Dio have got to be my favorite
Uh,
additions to the game.
what is your view on what happened to TB2, and like how do you feel about the game dying out?
To be honest, it's not that I was not expecting it, but I was expecting it, but I was not at the same time. Because their first game died out relatively quickly. And I was ready to give them a second chance with this one, but yeah, you know what happened to that? They stopped working on it, they stopped developing for it, they got lazy, no more frequent updates, and then it just died out. Like, what can you say about that? It's pretty sad, I guess, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you for coming on.
No problem. And as always, watch your pockets.
All right, so introduce yourself.
Alright, so I'm Deadku. I was the best. I'm gonna say this. I was the best North American TV2 player. Sadly, the fucking finger leak licking iPad kid had nothing on me. You know what I'm saying?
And please note how he said best North American player. We just had a discussion
'Cause
before this. Salvatore, Europe does not
it's hard to
exist.
compare with Salvatore. Because,
Yeah.
like, we never had good ping with each other.
So yeah, how did you originally get into TB2? Like, how'd you find out about the game?
Okay, so I was watching I like sit up in my chair real quick. I was watching a peak YouTuber that you guys may know named Infernasu.
Don't know.
And he's playing fucking TV too. And I was like, I want to hop on that game. Like I was already a pretty good ABA player at that time, but all the ABA players have gotten better at the game. So back then, TV2 was like, all like bad ABA players hopping over there, good ABA players too. Check it out. So I hopped over too, and I think on like February, well, I don't remember which month it was, but like I popped out of nowhere on the leaderboards.
Yeah,
Just
because I remember from the
killed everyone.
earliest days, like in
That
January,
was like
um,
the second ever leaderboard season.
I've had best Kira player all time.
Yeah, like 300 plus is ranked on leaderboard.
Because at that time, I guess it was, I think the highest ever was sadly Pre got like 400 elo, and I think when you peaked for your champion, it was like 386 or something.
Yeah, it's
I don't
380
remember.
something. But I
Yeah.
didn't feel like competing again for another champion skin because I already got my Hinata.
What was your favorite TB2 update? Like in terms of like where you feel like
Oh,
you were like most fun with the game.
easily the Awakening update. I don't know who didn't like the Awakening update the most.
I mean, that's
Like
on
I was
God.
hyping up the update too. Like it was delayed by like a month, and I was just in the Discord hyping that update up so much. Like, bro, it is worth it. It is worth the wait, and it was. It was worth the wait.
What is like your view on what happened to TB2? Like, how do you personally feel about it?
Literally, bro, it was a peak game. Like it was better than ABA. Let me just say that. But there was no updates. Like SBR was being worked on. Bro, if they just kept updating the game, it would have been so good. Like if they kept consistently updating like every 2 weeks right now, I feel it would still at least have like 3 to 5K players.
Thank you for
Nah, no, I'm
coming
just
on. Oh.
no. Thank you,
Thank you for having me
thank
on this
you,
random YouTube video.
thank you for letting me on this channel.
No problem. And if you want to see more Supreme King Deadku TB2 Pro first, ABA
Daddy
Pro
Q.
second, make sure to check out his YouTube channel. He's kind of popping right now, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Also, Deadku did it first.
Like, who did it first at home run?
Thank you all for watching to this point. I want to give special thanks to Deadku, Lazy, and Salvatore for helping me with information in this video, and shout out to Sadly Pre, Dispo, and Calc for keeping it real. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I personally had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. See ya!